When people experience something that they experience as a threat or a disturbance, we know that that affects the body in all kinds of ways, right? And you're aware of that. And that creates what's called sympathetic nervous system activity. And that causes things to happen like heart beats faster and blood pressure goes up and digestion disappears. And all of those things are designed to prepare a creature to be able to either escape or attack more effectively. Not works does not work so well for humans. But I wanted to get to what happens in other ways. What happens to thoughts? What happens to what mind has access to? So, like if you look straight ahead, um, notice as you're looking straight forward how far you can see to your right, how far you can see to your left, what this entirety of this range of vision you have, right, left. Think of the things that are available for your mind is a big range of things. One thing that's available for you is knowledge based on prior experiences. Another thing that's available for you is the ability to think strategically. Mind has the ability to think strategically, logically, rationally, creatively. Another thing that's available is humor. So lots of very powerful tools. Mind creates possibilities and creates strategic methods of moving toward and accomplishing what it shows is possible. But what I wanted to spend a moment with is what happens when someone perceives a threat. And I'm going to suggest to you that what happens is that what the mind has access to narrows. So imagine as you're looking forward, you can see this thing that's far to your right and far to your left. But then if we were to constrict your vision so that it becomes like what people call tunnel vision, then you can't see what's on the right. You can't see what's on the left. You can't access all of that information. You just have this narrow pathway of information. And so when somebody is perceiving a threat, their mind is likely to narrow into that kind of tunnel vision. So one thing people might experience when perceiving threat is anger. And I bet you've had the experience of being with somebody who is really angry about something and telling you about it. Think back on what it's like to be with somebody who's really angry and is telling you about it. And it's a pretty good example of what happens to somebody's mind when a threat is perceived. Um, that person probably is talking louder, probably talking faster, and may very likely be repeating herself over and over again. I've been with folks who were angry about something who told me what happened, and then they told me what happened all over again. And sometimes I thought, well, what happens if I just sort of nod and look at that person? What will they do next if I don't interrupt, if I don't cut in? And then they told me the same story a third time. And so I thought, well, what if I just let this thing keep going? I wonder what they'll say next. Well, they then told me the same story for the fourth time. Have you experienced this? And then for the fifth time. And then for the sixth time. What's going on? That person's mind has narrowed. Think of these two walls, and there's this ball bouncing in between them. And as the walls get more and more narrow, the ball it's just hitting faster and faster, but it just keeps doing the same thing. Bop, 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 bop. And that is what then is going on within the mind of somebody who tells you the same thing 5 times in a row. What is going on is loud, fast thinking with some kind of intense emotion as a fuel. What isn't going on while she's sitting with you telling you this same story over and over again? Well, I think what isn't going on is creativity. What isn't going on is strategic thought. What isn't going on is logic. What isn't going on is seeing of of options and possibilities. And instead, it's jammed up with this thought going, the same thought over and over. And you'll notice that if you listen to somebody who's really frightened about something happening, that you'll hear a different sort of tone to it, but similar things. Logic is gone, reason is gone, humor is gone, the ability to see possibilities is gone. The ability to access knowledge, the ability to make use of wisdom. So what's gone is everything that we would be thinking would be good to have present. So if it's good to have access to strategic thinking, if you're not experiencing a threat, it's even more useful if you are. If it's good to be creative anyway, it certainly would be good to be creative if you were in a situation where there was a real threat to yourself or others you care about. Although it's good to see other possibilities anyway, it would certainly be good in that dangerous situation or threatening situation to see those things. So our minds are not trying to do us any harm. Your mind is not trying to screw you up. I mean, I have to keep reminding myself that my mind is not trying to screw me up because the likelihood is that it will seem like that's what it's doing. And it is. Yeah. Our minds are screwing us up. However, our minds are not screwing us up because they're trying to screw us up. Your mind is not making you miserable because it wants you to be miserable. Your mind is attempting to defend you and doing it so badly that what mind is doing to defend against the threat then gets read as if it was a threat. So when you notice somebody who's stressed out, which probably means afraid, probably means angry, probably means some combination of both, it's likely that on some level he is threatened by his own mind and his own body's response to that threat. What happens then? Well, if there's threat, it turns this on. And if there's more threat, it doesn't turn it off, it turns it up. So if there's a threat, it turns on. If you see a tiger coming at you, it turns on. If you say, oh no, there are 3 tigers, I guess it turns up. But what's happening here is mind is experiencing what it's doing as the threat and turning up to deal with that. And then threatened by that, it's turned up and then turns up to deal with that. So you have this vicious circle where the problem continues to circle and build on itself. And so what I would recommend when stuff like that is happening if it's happening for me, one of the best things I could do is create the experience of being in connection with someone else, but not just anyone else. It has to be for sure someone that really has your best interests at heart and wisdom as to how to respond to you when you're in this jumbled up place within your own mind. And and you might find there are people that can do that for you. But we also find that people have a limited capacity to do that for us. So if somebody calls you and his mind is all jumbled and racing and bouncing against itself, and then, you do your best to provide a connection and to really listen and to bring some light. Of course, if you get a call from that same person later in the day with the same thing, and then tomorrow, and then tomorrow, and tomorrow, well, people might be there to assist us, but they can run out of steam and patience in doing so. But I do think it's a good idea to find your way to someone who can hear you and provide some clarity from outside there. Because if I'm all jumbled up inside myself, and then I sit and trying to figure it out, and then I'm trying to figure the situation out and trying to figure myself out while trying to figure the situation out while I'm feeling really aggravated and troubled and scared and a mess. I'm not a very good resource to myself. Any of you would be better for me at that moment than I am. So, well, that's one of the things that I intend that we provide for folks in our regular solutions meetings, a place where you can be heard and perhaps even understood, and perhaps with a way that will add a bit more clarity, which will spin the thing then in in a different direction. So it begins to spin in the other direction. The knob turns in the other way, and things return. Like, for instance, your creativity returns, your humor returns, your ability to be strategic returns, your ability to see possibilities returns, your ability to seize opportunities returns. And and that's happens as you're being heard by someone who can follow what you're saying and has this positive intention for you. Anyway, the thing that's going on for you and for everybody you know is that there are flaws in where body and mind have developed. And the significant flaw is that what is built into our mind and built into our body as a defense against a threat has been then misread as a threat. So humans experience their own defense as if the defense was a threat. And when mind experiences the defense as a threat, it turns that up. So it experiences it as more of a threat. So it turns that up. So it experiences that as more of a threat. And it can just keep turning up in that way. And there's nothing within our mind or body designed to hurt us. It's attempting to help. It's attempting to defend us. It's just doing it in a way that's not so effective. And this does not happen to any other creature, I don't think. I'm pretty sure that porcupines are never threatened by their own quills. Skunks aren't threatened by that smell. Other creatures aren't threatened by their own defense against a threat. But what seems to be happening with humans is that becomes an incredible source of threat. And it's going on with each person. And so there's a flaw within that person, and then people get together and then they build, communities. And of course, if the unit is flawed, then what's built with it is flawed. And so there's a lot out there that isn't working at its best for us as humans. And therefore, it's not working at its best for other creatures because humans have a lot of power as to what happens to all the creatures that weren't human. So notice that as things are not going too well for us, they don't seem to be going too well for other creatures either.